Welcome to the second episode of the PC Pilots Crew, a aerial stunting masterclass. Last episode we had a look at the basics of plane stunting, simple fly-through stunts, and today we're gonna have a look at jet stunting. We start with a little bit of the basics with jet speed control, and then I'm gonna show you how you understand my controller inputs, because it's way better than having a controller GFX on the video screen and some buttons, because if you actually look at my jet you can exactly see how much pressure I put on different buttons, and that I will explain in one part of the video. And then we're gonna jump into the more practical part, where I first show you how to land on the maze bank. For that we will use what we learned in the first part of the video, the jet speed control, and then we're gonna move on towards jet hover stunts. The maze bank landing is a good basic for the hover stunt jet technique, and then I'm gonna show you some training locations to do various hovers, because there's many different techniques, many different ways to steer your jet in the hover, and all those locations will help you to improve as most efficiently as possible. And then we're gonna move on to the next topic, which is one wing stunts, and also I'm gonna show you some one wing locations for that. So without further ado, let's start the video. The first thing we're gonna have a look at today is speed control. In this episode we will mainly use the P996 laser. You can just use any laser, it doesn't have to be your own, you do not have to own one, just jump into an air race which allows jets and you'll be fine to practice. You can just do that alone. As the Alpha Z1 from last episode, the 996 laser has also a speedometer. You can see it pretty much in the center of the screen. It's marked with the green, yellow and red circle. You can see your airspeed there in knots. The slower you are, the better. If you hold down your brake completely, your engine will go off. To achieve minimum speed, you either have to hold down your brake as much to hit the edge where it doesn't turn off, which is the harder variant, or you just do what I mainly do and many other people too. You completely hold down your brakes and tap the acceleration button. You can also see that on the speedometer. If I tap the acceleration, the arrow is moving a bit. That way you can see how my inputs are in this situation. If you would like to reduce your speed even further, you can also put down your landing gear. This makes you slow down faster, and it will also make you go even slower. If you want to break down even slower than that, you can also wiggle your jet up and down or left and right. This will also increase, well, the speed of your jet getting slower. The next part is about understanding my controller inputs. As I said, I do not find it the best way to put some controller GFX on the screen and highlight some buttons, because that way I cannot show you how much I press one of the triggers down, for example. So most of the clips I'm going to show you today I will play in slow motion. That way you can exactly check out my inputs. On this close-up you can see pretty much what buttons I press, and on the air brakes you see how much I press down my brake. Obviously up and down, left and right with the rudders should be also very self-explaining. The next part of this video is our first very practical part, but it's very simple and also pretty short. We're gonna talk about landing on the maze bank. What you're gonna do is simply try to fly vertically up and reduce your speed without your nose dropping. You gotta accelerate if you feel that you're dropping, and as soon as you're above the helipad, just make yourself drop onto the pad and you're done. Finally, we'll move on to the little bit more advanced flying techniques. So far, everything we have done was extremely basics, and now we're gonna move into the more advanced basics for the more fun stuff. We're gonna start with the jet hover. This is practically just flying extremely slow with your aircraft. That way you can fly through very tight spots, like for example, most commonly known, the Merryweather warehouse, and so much more. Let's jump into the technique. Doing the jet hover is fairly simple. What you gotta do is controlling your speed like we did earlier, but you're gonna tilt your jet a little bit upwards. And you try to fly as slowly as you can. As soon as you feel or see that your nose is dropping, you gotta accelerate more, otherwise you're gonna be falling down. You can easily practice that in this location. Just fly under these and you will get a feeling for it. Just do that as often as you need to before we go into the more advanced parts. You can also just fly around without any obstacles. But on this one you can actually practically see what is your altitude. Try to be as close as possible to the ground. Right beside the previous location, there are many threads you can fly your jet through. I suggest you take the path I show you in this video right now to improve your flying. This way you can start to learn turning in the hover. Those turns aren't very hard. If you get down these, we can move on to the next location where it gets a little bit more tricky. For turning, you would like to make the smallest curve you can achieve. Try to slow down by tilting upwards or putting down your landing gear, and if you would like to do the actual curve, put your landing gear back in, because with the landing gear in, your jet is more maneuverable. That makes the curves easier. The slower you are, the better also too. So make sure for the very sharp turns to put your landing gear out to slow down as much as you can, and then directly put it back in again to actually make the smallest circle possible. If you manage to do this stunt comfortably, you can move on to the next one. The next one I suggest is actually to do the Merryweather building itself we were talking about earlier. Don't be intimidated by this one. This isn't too hard. It looks very hard, but it actually isn't. What you just did before was way harder. What makes this stunt a little bit complicated is that you gotta figure out when to steer and where to fly through. As soon as you manage that, it's fairly simple. You will just need a few tries to do it, I promise. If you really would like to master the jet hover technique, I strongly suggest that you watch our montages, our stunt montages, because we have a lot of hover stunts there, and copy those stunts. The following stunt I show you features pretty much every movement you will ever do in a jet hover. This is also a good way to practice. Here you will have to do vertical changes, sharp turns, night flight hovers, and you gotta be very close to the water too. Next on our list for today's episode are one-wing stunts. One-wing stunts are their own stuff. Hardly any stunt technique can be as frustrating as the one-wing stunt. Mainly because it's extremely confusing, takes quite a lot of time to learn, and also you will always have to hit your wing off, which you can only do in a capture or in a free mode. If you do it in a race, your jet will just respawn. If you would like to learn one-wing flying, get yourself a friend, get a capture with respawn vehicle laser or any other jet you want to practice this with, and then hit your wing off. I'm gonna show you how now. This is how you hit your wing off. So basically you just hit your wing at the end of a building. It should be a flat surface where you not get stuck to. We recommend at first to hit a building really at the end, because if you hit it not at the end, you might also get bumped into the wall and explode. Also, make sure that you only go for your right wing. If you hit your left wing off, your jet will start to smoke. I don't know why, nobody knows, but maybe Rockstar does. If you have one wing, your jet will always by itself lose altitude, except you counter that with your own stick movements. How you do that is up to you. If you just click the stick down a little bit when the jet is in its normal position, or if you continuously maintain slight inputs on all sides, that's up to you. Just make sure you do not drop onto the ground on close ground maneuvers. If you would like to fly a curve, just press up or down depending on which direction you want to go as soon as your jet is sideways. That's the easiest way to do it. For example, if I was going about to go left, I would go up, down, up, down. And in addition to that, I also use my rudders. If I was going to the left, when I was upright, I would also go use the left rudder and vice versa. Using the rudders increases the turn ability of the jet by quite a lot. Sometimes you will see me rolling my jet faster than usual. If you're going for very tight places or in general fly through gaps, you want to control the position of your jet also via the roll. Because if you press your left stick to the right or to the left, you can either slow down or accelerate your spin, because you're continuously spinning while flying in one wing. If you press completely to the left or the right, you can also control the roll of your jet. Please be aware of that and practice that too. Training locations for one-wing flying are nearly everywhere. Pretty much, technically, you can say nearly every of the flying locations where you can fly forward through, you can also fly one wing. Obviously, that's significantly harder. Feel free to use all the training locations I showed you earlier for the hover stunts, also to use for the one-wing threats. Those are also ideal. If you look for more, check out our videos, or check out videos from Tongs or V Sapphire or also Nightmare. They are pretty many standard clips and also very many one-wing clips you can check out. Those have been all the topics I wanted to cover for this tutorial episode. I hope you enjoyed the video and it helps you. Please help us back by taking a like, commenting, and especially subscribing to our channel. It really helps us a lot and lets us stay motivated to create more content. So, Anyways, next episode we're gonna have backwards flying, reverse takeoff, and more. You can be really looking for that. Many people would like to learn backwards flying. There's your chance. Click subscribe and you won't miss the video. Again, thanks a lot for watching. Take care. See you in the skies.